The draft will be upon us in 8 days. Yeah, 8 days. So I'm going to talk about the Miami Dolphins' needs going into this draft, and we're going to look at a very good article that really goes into depth on what happened last year and the lacklusterness of certain aspects, and I'm going to get into all that. What is up, Fin fans? We are looking at the needs going into the NFL draft. Now, I do not expect the Miami Dolphins to sign any free agents from now until next Thursday. If they do, things could possibly change. But what I'm going to do is we are going to look at the depth chart as of right now. I am going to look at some things when it comes to an article that I found. Then we're going to go into the needs 5-1, and I'm going to tell you the best available free agents and why I have those needs in a certain situation. But real quick, I do have to shout out today's sponsor, and that is Clean the World. I talked about Sean Seipler a ton. He's a really good friend of mine, put together a great foundation called Clean the World. He goes out there, he gets people, soap, fresh water, hygiene kits, all this stuff, hundreds of countries, millions of people, hotels at the wazoo's, been doing it for 16 years, whether natural disaster, third world countries, the homeless. Fantastic. He also has the Wash Foundation that, again, gets people water that they need it. Go check it out, cleantheworld.org. Great human being. So let's look at the depth chart. Now, this is essentially kind of what we're looking at right now when it comes to the depth chart, right? We got Tua and Zach Wilson as our only quarterbacks. I think another quarterback will be added, whether free agency or not free agency, but late draft pick or undrafted free agent. Your running back group is Devon Achane, Jalen Wright, and Alexander Madison. I think they'll add another running back there. Wide receivers are Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington, D. Estridge, Taj Washington, and Terry Black, as well as Nick Westbrook and Eric Izukama. These are your starting three. I really like Malik. Supposedly they have a high. They really like Taj, even though we really haven't been able to see much. So they like those five guys there. Your tight ends, Jonnu, Julian, Farrell Brown, and Tanner Connor. They put Julian Hill, the smart people over at ESPN. Your fullback is Alec Ingold. Your offensive line is Patrick Paul, Keon Smith, and Braden Daniels. Your starting left guard as of today is Liam Eichenberg. Please, Lord, help me. Jackson Carman is your backup, even though he is a tackle. So we'll see if he stays at the guard. Aaron Brewer and Andrew Meyer are your centers. James Daniels and Jason Hines are your right guard, and your right tackle is Austin Jackson, Larry Borum, Ryan Hayes, and Baron Matos. I am fine with this offensive line opposite, obviously, the left guard situation. The left guard situation is absolutely horrible. I'm fine with Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels, and Austin Jackson. Then we look at the defense. Your defensive line, not good. You got Zach Sealer as your starter. Benito Jones was brought back. Matt Dickerson and Neil Farrell are pretty much it for your D-line. Your linebacking core, I think, is good to go. You guys, if you watch yesterday's video, you know how I feel about adding a linebacker. But you got Jalen Phillips, Chop, Mo. Then you got Bradley Chubb, Quinton Bell, Cameron Good. Then your interior guys, Terrell Dotson, Jordan Brooks, KJ Britt, Willie Gay, and Channing Tindall. Good. I have no qualms about that. Your corners. You got Jalen Ramsey. Outside of Jalen, you got Storm Duck, Cam Smith, Isaiah Johnson, Ethan Bonner. And you got your Caterco, who's going to be the slot, as well as Artie Burns and Jason Maitre. And then your safeties, Ashton Davis, Afatu Melifanu, Elijah Campbell, and Patrick McMorris. And we'll get into that. And look at this. Look who they have penciled in as the starter for punters. Ryan Stonehouse. None of this means anything. This isn't official. This is just, hey, these are the guys you signed. We put them on here for you. Congratulations. So what I do want to talk about is a very good article from Warren Sharp. And it essentially says Miami Dolphins needs picks and more draft for 2025. So this is what he says, and then I'll tell you what I say, right? Miami Dolphins need top position of needs in 2025. Offensive line, defensive back, defensive line. That's his 1, 2, and 3. Where we pick. And again, I'll go more into this next week. I'll have my preview on the 23rd, literally the day before the draft. But we have 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2 4s, 2 5s, and 3 7s. As you see here, 13, 48, 98. I would like to get one more in the top 100. So if the Dolphins do trade down from 13, I'd like to get maybe another second round pick, throw it in there because there is some good talent there. Miami Dolphins draft capital status. You see here, looking at it, total draft value. They're not bad, right here. The best is the Browns. The worst is the Vikings. Vikings don't have a lot of draft picks, if I'm being honest with you. We're ranked 13th, total picks 10, percentage above average, 8%. First 3 rounds, 42.7, all this great stuff. First 3 rounds are kind of below average there. Miami Dolphins draft prediction. I have a video coming out this week where we will go and look at all the mock drafts and react to them accordingly. Here's your strength of schedule. Take with this grain of salt, because they have us as the 9th easiest, but that could flip because I remember a few years ago we had one of the hardest and then we ended up having one of the easiest. So there's that. Miami Dolphins offensive rankings. I'm assuming the red means bad. So, your total offense efficiency was average. It would have been better if Tua stayed healthy, but obviously he didn't. His pass efficiency was 11th. Again, could have been better. EPA, 15th, average. Yards per attempt, I think. Yards per play attempt, not great. On target catches, fantastic, even though, we're going to get off on that. Quarterback accuracy, average, but again, this is a combination of all 4 quarterbacks that played for us. Explosive offense dropped drastically. Pass pro efficiency and running back efficiency, 8th, and then you get into the run game where it was just bad, right? Red zone blend offense, average. You got your YPP offense, below. Your pace offense, horrible. Third down conversion, not good. So the offense, not good. You see a lot of red here. And then you got your quarterback. He kind of looks at the depth chart as well. The one I really want to focus on that he broke down is the offensive line, because this is bad. What happens with this offensive line, right? This unit was, again, at the heart of the primary issue of the offense. Miami ended the year ranked 28th in ESPN's pass block win rate and 26th in the run block win rate. And people have come to me, I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger. People have literally said that the offensive line was fine last year. There's nothing wrong with the offensive line. There's nothing wrong with it. It's horrible. Now, it wasn't the reason Tua got hurt, but it was bad. It's the reason the run game was non-existent. At Proof PFF, they ranked 20th in team pass blocking grade and 27th in run blocking grade. This team struggled to keep anyone on the field up front for the 2nd year in a row. Hey, 2023. Do you remember what happened in 2023? It fell apart. And who got blamed for it? Just one human being. Miami's most frequently used combination across the line was off the field for 35% of their offensive snaps. The tackle spot were problem areas in that department. Teron Armstead missed 2 games. Austin Jackson missed 9. Armstead announced his retirement, leaving a hole left tackle. Patrick Paul is going to have to plug in there. I don't think that they're going to draft a tackle high. He missed multiple games every year with the Dolphins, but he's still at the top of the position when he was available, 100%. Armstead was 4th in the grades of PFF. He allowed 33.2% pressure rate, which was 8th. Fantastic. With Armstead on the field over the past 3 years, Tua averaged 8.3 yards per pass attempt with a 5.6 touchdown rate at 4.6 sacks rate and a 106.8 rating. With Armstead absent, Tua averaged 7.7 yards per attempt, 4.8 touchdown rate, 6.5% sack rate, went up by about 9, and a passer rating of 92.7. dropped when he's not on the field. Miami lost swing tackle Kendall Lamb in free agency, pushing Patrick Paul in the starting spot. It is what it is. He's going to be the starter. You take him in the second round, he's going to be the starter. Making 3 starts last season, he allowed 6.6 pressure rate, which is 68th among tackles, and finished 82nd out of 85 qualifying tackles. Needs to do better, 100%. Austin Jackson can be pivotal back at left tackle. Could be pivot back to left tackle where he opened his career, but he has been a subpar performer steadily over his time with the team. Jackson's a right tackle there. Miami did upgrade at the guard spot this offseason, signing James Daniels to a 3-year contract. Daniels only appeared in 4 games with the Steelers last season, but was second among all guards in those games. Robert Jones took every snap at left guard last season, while Liam Eichenberg took 92% of the snaps at right guard. Eichenberg in the final year of his contract, and the team has allowed Jones to move on to free agency. It would not surprise me if they use premium. Then you got the defense here. Defense was good, as you see here. You have efficiency and all that stuff. Where it was bad was the sack rate. Defensive line, pressure rate, defensive line, explosive rush defense, defensive line. That's where it was bad. Outside of that, the zone blend defense, third down conversion, rush efficiency, all these things, they were good. They were top. It was getting after the quarterback. And, you know, we already talked about, they got no one on the D-line, a linebacker core I like, all that stuff. Now, he also went out and kind of broke down the offensive line a little bit more, and needed to, because holy moly was the offensive line bad for the Miami Dolphins last year. The Miami Dolphins, their line is 27th most effective this year. It's not because they have a lot of young starters. They invested the 3rd least draft capital in the O-line since 2022. I will say that one more time. Since Mike McDaniel took charge as the head coach, they invested the 3rd least amount of draft picks in the offensive line. They did not do anything to the offensive line. And that's the thing that bothers me. People say, well, they did this. They didn't do what they were supposed to do, which is absolutely absurd. Last year, the line ranked 32nd in run stuff rate and 31st in short yardage conversion rate. They did not get a push up front in the ground game, ranking 26th in yards before contact per rush. Making matters worse, they ranked number 1 in offensive holding penalties, most in the NFL since 2019. So it's a problem. The offensive line 100% is a problem. Now that I gave you all the information about the 2024 team and kind of looking at where we're sitting as a depth chart, let me give you my draft needs. We'll go from 5 to 1. Honorable mention, running back. Obviously, we only have 3 on the team, but I think 3 we have in our starting 2 are our starters. I think you take a running back later, maybe 4th or 5th round, because you have 2 of those picks, because you can have them develop. So I will talk about, you know, who I'm targeting and stuff in the draft preview video. But my number 5 here is linebacker. Now, you guys know I really like Jihad Campbell. They won't be taking him at 13. And I do like who they have at linebacker: Terrell Dodson, Jordan Brooks, KJ Britt, and Willie Gay. I like these guys. I think they're solid. I think they will do the job, and I think they will help the defense. But don't get me wrong. If we can go out there and in the second round take one of these top linebackers or add a guy who will eventually become something really good for this team, I am not against that. Because, again, you got Jordan Brooks, who needs a new contract. Willie Gay's up there in age. Terrell Dodson signed a 1-year deal. You know, all of these guys are 1-year deals, and if you can go out there and get a guy for the future, again, I'm sitting here hoping that Chris Grier does the right thing, I think it will really help. And again, you have Walker, Jihad Campbell. Go watch my video yesterday where I break down these linebackers and who I like, who I don't like. Can definitely help. So my number 5 team need is linebacker. Also, you'll see that when I talk about the needs, I also kind of look at who's available in free agency. So you got like CJ Mosley, Isaiah Simmons, but I think they'll stick with what they have. So you're not, you know, that's why I have it so low, because the team's fine. This is more just adding a piece for the future. My number 4 is safety. Now, the Dolphins essentially probably in their mind have their starting safeties in Ashton Davis and Fatu Melifonwu. I am very happy I got his name down as well as I have. But to me, I think you need another starter in there. I think you need a legit one. I think Fatu Melifonwu is probably your other starter, and Ashton Davis is more of a roaming type of safety. But the reason I have safety at number 4 is because of Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, and Von Bell, the type of free agents that are still out there that can come in and make an instant impact. Obviously, there are safeties in this draft. There are safeties you can take in the second round in this draft that I do like, and I've obviously, that video will be coming out Friday. But to me, safety, when I look at it, it's not that big of a need because of Fatu Melifonwu and Ashton Davis, and because there is Justin Simmons, Quandre Diggs, and Von Bell, and the likes of those veteran safeties still available in free agency, that it's not a dire need. We're sitting at 13, and Amanwari's there, but Grant's also there, but also Membu fell. I'm not taking a safety. Even if Will Johnson's there, and we'll get into that, I'm probably not taking a safety. I'm probably taking Membu because we can address safety and free agency afterwards. So that is why I have safety at number 4. And you have every right to disagree with this. That's what this is all about. So disagree. My number 3, guard. What? Number 3? It should be number 1, Doug. Well, I have it at number 3 for a multitude of reasons. Number 1, Patrick Paul, Aaron Brewer, James Daniels, and Austin Jackson. I am fine with that as our starters. It's one position that needs help. You look at the free agents that are still out there, and Dalton Reisner, Brandon Scherf, Will Hernandez, and even Daniel Brunskill, and you sign one of those guys, plug them in, I'm good, right? You'll be your starter while your second, third round pick is developing. And again, I'm talking draft needs. Like, this is what I'm looking at for the first, maybe second round pick. And to me, guard is a need. Don't get me wrong. It is a need. I just read a list off of how bad the offensive line was. But there is vets out there that can be plugged in. So at 13, I'm not overreaching for a guard. So I'm not really too worried about that. Take someone in the second round, maybe even in the third round if a guard is still available, or you could trade down. But guard is important. Trenches are important. But with the vets that are still out there, I'm good, right? I'm good with waiting to take a guard. I'm not good with the next two. And that's where we get into my number 2 is corner. And you might be asking yourself, you have corner over guard? Yes. Because I look at the corners we have outside of Jalen Ramsey. Storm Duck, Cam Smith, Isaiah Johnson, Ethan Bonner, Artie Burns, Jason Maitre. Do you feel comfortable with any of those guys going up against other receivers that we're going to face this year? Because Jalen Ramsey can only cover one of them. And then you look at the free agents that are out there, and Asante Samuel Jr., Mike Hilton, and Rasul Douglas. You still feel comfortable? Or at 13, you take Will Johnson. All of a sudden, I feel much comfortable, Or you take any of the corners that you're thinking of in the second round, because there are some good ones in the second round. So see how things all of a sudden kind of you picking up why I have them in the position I have them, because this is a bigger need, because to address it outside of the draft or address it out of the first 2 rounds will be harder. And because you look at what we have on the team opposite, and it's terrifying. Now, obviously, guard, it's terrifying, but I listed off 4 names that you could plug in, and I feel much, much better. So to me, corner 2 is a need, right? And there's 2 possibilities at 13, unless, Jahad Barron, I think that's how you say his name, goes earlier, but then you still have Will Johnson, right? There's still those needs. And then in the second round, you still have other needs. My number 1, and you probably already guessed what my number 1 is defensive line. And the reason that is because of how many defensive linemen the Miami Dolphins need. Matt Dickerson, Benito Jones, Neil Farrell. Those are your defensive linemen outside of Zach Sealer. And I've said this so many times, and I apologize if I'm sounding like a broken record. You need a rotation. You're not going to have Zach Sealer and 2 rookies out there for 4 downs or 3 downs, whatever. You need a rotation. And then you look at the free agents that are out there, and Linval Joseph, Jonathan Hankins, Raekwon Davis, John Jenkins, Jonathan Hankins, John Jenkins, tongue twisters. They're not good. Again, Dalton Reisner, Brandon Scherff, Will Hernandez, you plug him in at guard, you feel better. You plug in Asante Samuel Jr. at corner 2, you're like, is he healthy? Mike Hilton didn't have a great year. Rasul Douglas didn't have a great year. You're not feeling as good. Same thing with the defensive line. It's worse, in my opinion, with Linval Joseph, with Jonathan Hankins, with Raekwon Davis. You don't feel as good. So to me, the defensive line is the biggest need because we have one starter out of possibly 4 because we need a rotation in a 3-4 set. So to me, we need more starters in this position versus just one guard, one corner, one safety, and linebackers fine. And to me, that is why defensive line is my number 1 need going into this draft. And if you can get Grant, if you can trade back and get Harmon, if you could take one of these guys in the 2nd round, good, because we need it. If you double down and take one in the 2nd round and take one in the 4th round, even better. And you'll see when I talk about draft preview, and even like in the preview, I go into some of the strategies and stuff like that. When you get into all that stuff, you will see me talk about who we don't take in the first, you got to take in the 2nd, right? We take Will Johnson in the 1st, then you got to go for a guard or defensive lineman in the 2nd. That's my thought process. And again, safety to me isn't that crazy of a need because of the potential that's still out there, and I feel good with the potential that's still out there. But like I said, you go Will Johnson in the 1st round, then in the 2nd round, maybe go like Donovan Jackson, right? Or you can go Jonas Savaianea. Those guys can play guard in this offense. Or again, you go corner in the 1st round. There's, possibly Williams, Tyleik Williams, or you can go Darius Alexander. If the Dolphins can get Will Johnson in the 1st at 13 and get Darius Alexander in the 2nd round, I'm good. 3rd round, do BPA. Even if it's a linebacker or whatever, I'm good because you address 2 needs. And like I said, you got Dalton Reisner, Brandon Scherff, and Will Hernandez still out there. Does it make sense now? My thought process? But obviously, you're going to have a difference of opinion. I fully expect people to have guard at number 1, defensive line at number 2, corner at 3, safety at 4, and linebacker at 5, or maybe even running back at 5. Fully expect it. I'll go more into detail in my thought process when I do my preview video on the 23rd, the day before the draft. But comment below. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you tomorrow. We got so much more draft content to get ready for next week's draft. But like usual, stay classy. My friends out.